Hello. In all my previous recordings on Quarkus Backstage, I used the Backstage installation that was running on top of my OpenShift cluster. OpenShift is Red Hat's Kubernetes distribution. So I needed a container image for Backstage that includes all required Backstage plugins. There were not many, but there were a few. Also needed Backstage configuration. I needed to set up things like tokens, access to Git repository, stuff like that. I needed deployment descriptors for Backstage, route configuration, those kind of things. In other words, it was not trivial for me to prepare that environment. Even when you sort out the Backstage installation, there are still things that are challenging. For example, it's not trivial to write an integration test that ensures that your generated entities, your generated templates are working as expected, that they can be rendered correctly, and things like that. For all those concerns, we've decided to add a dev service for Backstage inside Quarkus Backstage. A dev service is, let's say, a test container created by Quarkus whenever it is needed by the extension. For example, when running Quarkus in dev mode, when executing tests that do need access to Backstage, and cases like those. So let me go to the Hello Backstage project and add the Quarkus Backstage extension. The group ID is io.quarkiverse.backstage, the artifact ID Quarkus-backstage, and the latest version at the moment of the recording was 0.4.1. And now I should be able to start dev mode. When starting dev mode, Quarkus will start a test container for Backstage, and also it will start a test container for Gitea, which is a Git repository that I will be using integrated with Backstage in order, to push there my projects, my templates, and stuff like that. We already see that the Gitea container is getting started, and now we do see that the Backstage container is also starting. It seems that the Backstage container is up and running. The dev service automatically installs the catalog info YAML to the Backstage dev service, which contains the component Hello Backstage and the Hello Backstage API, which is something that we've seen and explored in earlier recordings. So by pressing the D key, I see that in my browser the Quarkus Dev UI starts, and in the Quarkus Dev UI I can now see that I have an item called Backstage, which I can click, and it gets me to the Backstage UI of my Backstage dev service. I can enter the dev service and I can see that the Hello Backstage component is already there. It's properly configured. It has access to the Backstage API. I can explore its definition, and I can do pretty much everything that I could with the Backstage installation that I had running on top of OpenShift. The great thing about all this is that I can use my client and my CLI to talk to the dev service. So for instance, if I start a new terminal and go to the project demo Hello Backstage, let me just increase my font size a bit. I can do Quarkus Backstage entities list, and the command, instead of going to the OpenShift Backstage installation, it will use the Backstage dev service. It will detect that currently for this particular project there is a dev service running, and it will connect to it, and it will automatically list all the entities that are running on Backstage, which is just amazing. Other things that I can do with a dev service like this is write integration tests. And the best example of integration test can be found in the project Quarkus Backstage itself. So let me jump there and share its own integration tests to get some ideas of what one can do with a dev service. In this case, we have all sorts of test cases that list all entities, list locations, find component locations, but one case that is really amazing, and I wanted to share that with you, is the ability to install templates, but also to instantiate templates. And by saying instantiate templates, I mean using the create wizards that were demonstrated in earlier recordings to actually create a project. Now, when all these test cases and entities and projects are created, they are usually stored in Gitea, which is also running as a dev service, and I can use the dev UI to access the Gitea UI, and I can sign in. I think that the username and password is Quarkus or something like that. Yeah, and I can see exactly what is going on, the repositories that have been created, what's in there, the catalog YAML, the API definition, and those kind of things. So to summarize, to easily start with Backstage and Quarkus, one can use the Quarkus Backstage Dev Service. The Quarkus Backstage Dev Service takes care of setting up access to a Git repository, takes care of starting a Backstage installation that is able to talk to that repository, and will also install the basic stuff that your application needs, components, APIs, and those kind of things. You can do much more with the Quarkus Backstage, but this is something that we will explore in future recordings. To give you some ideas, you can pre-install a template generated from your application. You can even create dev templates, which are templates tuned for using dev modes, which is a really powerful feature. So I hope that this was helpful and you enjoyed it, and stay tuned because more content like this is coming your way soon. Till then, bye bye.